Welcome back. Now, over a century ago, in what was then German Southwest Africa, the Herero and Nama people faced extermination at the hands of German colonial forces. Between 1904 and 1908, up to 80% of the Herero and half of the Nama population were killed in what many historians now recognize as the first genocide of the 20th century. I'm now joined by Mr. Dawid Cassius Gertze, Chief of the Haboben traditional community, to elaborate further. Good evening and welcome, Chief Gertze. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and I'm here.
Well, of course, today we are commemorating our first Genocide Remembrance Day on May 28th. How can this day, May 28th, Chief, be institutionalized in schools, public institutions, and you know, just national culture to preserve the memory and educate future generations about the genocide of 1904 to 1908?
Nina, let me start by saying that genocide was quite a painful process in which we lost land, human lives, and livelihoods. The best thing for us to do is, in fact, today we were remembering and honoring our descendants, our victims of the genocide as descendants. The good thing would be that the genocide as a part of the curriculum, it needs to be introduced into the school curriculum as a subject matter that needs to be paid serious attention to. What that will do is that it's going to inform and educate the coming generation as to what we went through. Now, it will perhaps just not be just a question of teaching and so forth. It will also inculcate a spirit of that type of a situation not to happen again. So it teaches us that we inculcate a spirit of resilience as it was, because whatever might be coming in the future, and also to inculcate a spirit towards peaceful cohabitation and livelihoods amongst our people. That would be the one thing. The next thing would be that we need to more often invite people for public lectures on genocide, so that people first understand before they embrace. You can realize and we can recall that prior to this whole thing started off in the parliament, there was actually no talk of a genocide. So our thinking in terms of doing some research and listening into what the elders are telling us were ignited by the motion that was tabled and that came out of the parliament. So there is a serious need for us to have public lectures and also transmitting that historical narrative along fires during night times and through dramas, through art, for instance. And I think people are more prone to grasping much better when it is done through art. People are tired of reading and so forth. Of course, not a good culture anyway, but that's what they do. So this is how I can say. And there is also one thing, I may probably go a little bit further, and this is the question of the intra-ethnic discussions that we need to have. Because the genocide has got many dimensions in terms of narrative.
Right.
And we need to have that type of discussion. I've also noticed that during this period, for the past 9 or so years, people that never intended to meet with one another started meeting because we share a commonality in terms of pain. And this is the pain that brought us together. Now, what needs to bring us together now on the way forward is to embrace a culture of peace that we want to inculcate amongst our people and amongst us as leaders. So the building of museums, for instance, so that this narrative is kept alive, so that people can go and look and be informed and educated.
Thank you, Chief. Well, the next topic that I'd like to tackle, and some might still look at it as a very sensitive matter of discussion, which is the reparations. But talk to us about how government's response to call for reparations has evolved, and what are the current obstacles in reaching a just agreement?
Reparations has got so many clarifications on the one hand, so many human dimensions attached to it, but reparations must come. And I'm quite sure that reparations will come. The way how it will come is currently the bone of contention. Some people are not happy. Some people feel that, I think what was agreed upon is just a drop in such a big pot, for instance. Some would feel that that would be the starting point of future discussions around the question of reparations and so forth. What I must say is reparations cannot also be left infinito without being moved to a point where we need to agree with one another, because we have got two parties. It's the Germans and it's us Namibians, the descendants. So the narrative currently is we are not going to settle for it. There are people who went for it, who settled for it. But there are still some outstanding issues that needs to be ironed out and finally defined around in terms of
on that note, what are the key demands of the Nama and Herero communities regarding compensation for the genocide, and how unified are these communities in this?
Let me put it, currently what is in the JD, which is in its final stages at the moment, it stood at 1.1 billion euro. And it still stands there. But let me take it a little further than that. The 1.1 euro is not the ultimate decision or the quantum that is being given.
Right.
In the new revised or perhaps renegotiated settlement, we agreed that there will be continuous funding of activities, and it will be need-based. It will be based on what the shortcomings that we see amongst our communities. Hence, also the establishment of a commission, binational commission. So, yes, on the question of communities, we must realize that democracy has got tendencies, has brought new tendencies to us to the right to differ. Sometimes is abused also. But you're entitled to it, and we must live with that. But the fact that we differ does not mean that processes must come to an halt.
Right.
Yeah. So for those of us who are part of the current negotiating process, are pushing it towards finality. We may not agree, but we must also remember that as much as I differ from somebody, that particular person also disagrees with me at that point. So as much as we are owning up to our disagreements, we are not going to do any justice to the cause.
Yeah.
The problem, though, between us, the so-called differing communities, is that we expect people to come and talk to us. That is the challenge as the descendants. We want people to come and tell us that we need to sit down and talk. No, we are rather avoiding that part and expect the government to come in and do that. Now, this government that we talk about is not something that came from the air somewhere. It's a government that we have elected and voted into position. So they do not own us, we own them. But if we as the owners fail to agree on things that we need to agree on, we cannot keep the government hostage. Because the motion is very clear. But the government is also an interested party in this thing, this whole genocide thing. And as such, yeah, there are disagreements, but there are people who volunteered and who agreed by themselves that they want to be part of it. In passing, just to point on the question of exclusivity, of exclusion that people are painting, if I'm invited and I opt not to come, then it's your democratic right to do so. But the good thing is that that door has never been closed. That door still remains open. And I think it's high time for us as descendants to take this issue serious.
Thank you.
Instead of cutting one another's throats over issue that is debatable, that is resolvable. And all this can only happen when there is the wish and need and conviction from our side that we definitely need to come together and resolve this matter. But with regards to the JD, it is ready. Some technical legal issues are being worked on. And once it has been finalized, we take it as, because as much as we are citizens, we are also descendants directly involved in this case, I must say.
Thank you, Chief. Just very briefly and lastly, well, of course, today, May 28th now honors the victims of the genocide. How do you respond, to those who criticize and argue that remembrance without just and meaning compensation of reparations is not enough?
I want to be honest on this one. We must remember that people like sloganeering. Sometimes people just use slogans for the sake of it. But believe you me, and the documents are very clear on that. All of us who criticize today, the happenings of the day, participated in the process today. So what an irony. And this is why I come back to the question of people like sloganeering. We want just compensation. We are serious on that. We want the livelihoods of our people to be changed. Why do I say that? We lost a big deal. We lost land. And land for us is life. We lost people who could have contributed in their lifetime. We lost parents who has caused so much pain and trauma to us, the descendants. Loved ones, we have lost livelihoods with which our people could make a living. So that compels us as Namibians to tell Germany that we need just compensation. We do not need necessarily a payment per se, but what we want to see coming from their side is to put us in a position that we, after some few years, can say, it's probably not ultimate, but we can see our people our people's lives being renewed, our livelihoods being changed, so that we can also compete on many other areas within the economic sphere as some other people do.
Chief Gertze, it was lovely having you here with us this evening. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
When we come back after this brief break, our conversations do continue, so stay with us.